Right now, at this exact millisecond, your brain is processing 11 million bits of information. 11 million. But here is the glitch in the human experience. Your conscious mind, the part of you that is currently listening and thinking, is only aware of 40 of them. Not 40,000, not 40,000, just 40. Everything else, every heartbeat, every micro-expression, every deep-seated craving, and every spontaneous decision you've ever made is being governed by a silent architect lurking in the shadows of your skull. You think you're the pilot of your life, but neuroscience reveals you're actually a passenger in a high-speed vehicle that's been on autopilot since the day you were born. Have you ever wondered why you can't stop a habit even when you know it's destroying you? Or why you get an immediate bad vibe from a stranger before they even speak a word? In this deep dive, we're going to dismantle the illusion of your conscious control. We are breaking down 100 mind-altering facts about the subconscious mind, backed by 2025 neuroscience research that will fundamentally change how you perceive your own reality. We're exploring the 7-second delay, the chilling scientific proof that your brain makes decisions long before you think you've made a choice. We're uncovering the secrets of the basal ganglia, the hidden vault where your habits are locked away, immune to your willpower. We're going to look at how neuroplasticity can literally rewire your personality while you're in deep REM sleep, and why your default mode network is the real reason you feel perpetually stuck in a loop of anxiety. If you've ever felt like there's an invisible wall between the person you are and the person you want to become, it's because you've been speaking the wrong language. The subconscious doesn't process logic. It processes patterns, triggers, neuroelectrical shortcuts. By the time we reach fact number 100, you will finally have the blueprint to the most powerful supercomputer in the known universe. But first, we have to address the most uncomfortable truth of all, the specific reason your brain is biologically designed to lie to you every single day. Right now, as you listen to my voice, your heart is beating, your lungs are expanding, and your pupils are adjusting to the light, all without a single conscious thought from you. But the influence of your inner mind goes much deeper than mere biology. Have you ever wondered why you suddenly feel a wave of anxiety in a room full of strangers, or why you can drive home for miles and realize you don't remember a single turn? Have you ever had a gut feeling so intense it felt like a physical weight in your chest? Welcome to the hidden engine of your existence. While you believe you're the conscious captain of your ship, modern neuroscience reveals a startling, almost haunting reality. You're mostly a passenger. Research shows that while your conscious brain struggles to process a mere 40 bits of information per second, your subconscious is silently, efficiently managing a staggering 11 million bits every single second. It is the silent architect of your reality, the guardian of your deepest habits, and the source of your most profound intuitions. It is the reason you thrive, and it is the hidden reason you feel stuck. In this comprehensive deep dive, we are bridging the gap between who you think you are and the powerful forces that actually drive your behavior. Using the latest breakthroughs in neuroscience and psychology, from 2024 and 2025, we're counting down 100 life-altering facts about the subconscious mind. We will explore how the basal ganglia cements your habits into permanent neural circuitry, how the default mode network shapes your narrative of self, and how the incredible power of neuroplasticity gives you the literal biological power to physically rewire your brain's architecture. We aren't just talking about positive thinking or surface-level self-help. We are dissecting the actual mechanics of the human machine. From the science of flow states and emotional regulation to the cognitive biases that blind you to the truth, understanding these 100 insights is the ultimate key to breaking cycles of self-sabotage. You're about to meet the silent stranger who's been running your life since the day you were born. These are 100 subconscious mind facts that will change your life. To understand why your brain is biologically programmed to lie to you, we first have to look at the sheer energy cost of existence. Your brain is a 3-pound organ that consumes 20% of your body's total caloric intake. It is an energy hog. If your conscious mind tried to process every single one of those 11 million bits of information, the texture of your socks, the hum of the refrigerator, the microscopic shifts in the shadows across the room, your internal circuitry would literally melt down. Evolution solved this by creating a filter. It's called selective attention, but in reality, it's a censorship bureau. Your subconscious mind acts as a high-level gatekeeper, deciding what is important enough for you to actually notice. But here's where the danger lies. The criteria your subconscious uses to filter reality aren't based on what makes you happy, or what makes you successful, or even what is true. Its criteria are based on one thing, and one thing only: survival. And survival, in the eyes of an ancient biological machine, is built on repetition. This is why you feel that invisible wall. When you try to start a new habit, like waking up at 5 a.m. or finally launching that business, your conscious mind is excited. It sees a better future. But your subconscious sees a deviation from the pattern. To your basal ganglia, that ancient walnut-shaped cluster at the base of your forebrain, change equals danger. It doesn't matter if the change is good for you. If it's different from what you did yesterday, it's a threat to the energy equilibrium. Think about the last time you tried to change a deep-seated behavior. For the first few days you had willpower, but willpower is a function of the prefrontal cortex, the most modern and also the weakest part of your brain. It tires easily. It's like a tiny battery powering a massive spotlight. Eventually that battery runs dry, the spotlight flickers out, and you find yourself standing in the kitchen at midnight, eating the very food you swore you'd give up. You didn't fail. Your subconscious simply reasserted control. It waited for your conscious guard to drop, and then it defaulted back to the programmed script it has been running for decades. This is the biological lie. Your brain convinces you that you're making choices in real time, when in reality you're mostly reacting to pre-recorded neurochemical loops. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute discovered something that should haunt every person who prizes their free will. Using advanced fMRI brain scans, they were able to predict a person's decision up to 7 seconds before the person even knew they had made it. Imagine that. You're sitting in a lab, told to push a button with either your left or right hand whenever you feel like it. You think you're being spontaneous, but 7 seconds before your finger moves, your brain's motor centers have already fired. The choice was made by the silent architect. Your conscious mind was just the last person to get the memo. This isn't just about pushing buttons. It's about who you marry, the career path you take, and the way you react when someone cuts you off in traffic. It's about the default mode network, DMN, a complex web of brain regions that kicks into high gear the moment you stop focusing on a specific task. When you're daydreaming or just walking down the street, your DMN is running a constant looping narrative of who you are. It's the me program, and for most of us that program is filled with bugs. I'm not a morning person. I'm bad with money. I always get rejected. Every time your DMN runs this loop, it strengthens the neural pathways. It turns a temporary thought into a permanent biological structure. This is the physical reality of stuckness. You aren't stuck because you're lazy. You're stuck because you have built a high-speed neural highway for your insecurities, while the path to your goals is a weed-choked trail that requires immense energy to navigate. But why? And why would nature design a system that is so resistant to our own desires? Why would it give us the capacity for consciousness if that consciousness is just a passenger watching a pre-recorded movie? To find the answer, we have to look at the threat detection system of the amygdala. Your subconscious is hyper-attuned to negative stimuli. In the wild, the human who ignored a bad vibe ended up as a meal. Today, that same system is triggered by a read receipt on a text message or a slight change in your boss's tone of voice. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a critical email. It triggers the same cortisol spike, the same fight or flight response, and the same narrowing of your cognitive abilities. You aren't living in the world, you're living in your brain's interpretation of the world. And that interpretation is being filtered through layers of childhood conditioning, ancestral trauma, and evolutionary biases that you never ask for. You're operating on a legacy operating system in a high-tech world, and the software is crashing. The anxiety you feel, that's not you. That's a signal from your default mode network, trying to protect you from a perceived social threat by keeping you small and hidden. The procrastination, that's not you. That's your basal ganglia protecting your energy reserves by preventing you from entering the unknown of a new project. We have spent our entire lives trying to change our behavior by talking to our conscious minds. We read books, we make lists, we use logic. But the subconscious doesn't understand English. It doesn't care about your why. It speaks the language of neuroelectrical patterns, emotional intensity, and physical sensations. If you want to change the passenger seat into the pilot's seat, you have to stop trying to argue with the driver and start learning how to rewire the engine. We're about to dive into 100 facts that act as the technical manual for that engine. We're going to see how your subconscious literally hallucinates your reality, how it heals your body while you sleep, and how you can exploit the 7-second delay to reclaim your agency. But before we get to fact number 1, we need to address a staggering reversal in how we think about intelligence. For centuries, we've been told that our rational conscious mind is the peak of evolution, and the subconscious is just a dark basement where we hide our primitive urges. What if everything we just discussed is actually a misunderstanding of who is really in charge? What if the 40 bits of your conscious mind isn't the smart you, but is actually just a PR spokesperson for the real genius? What if your conscious mind isn't the pilot or the passenger, but is actually just a tiny limited screen that can only show one frame of a massive 8K IMAX movie? The truth is even more radical. Your subconscious isn't the problem you need to solve. It is the only part of you that actually knows what it's doing. Your conscious mind is the one that's confused. Your conscious mind is the one that creates the lie. Let's look at the first 10 facts that prove your logical brain is actually the most irrational part of your existence. To truly grasp the magnitude of this internal divide, we have to look at the concept of confabulation, perhaps the most haunting trick your brain plays on you. In the 1960s, neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga conducted a series of groundbreaking split-brain experiments that revealed a terrifying truth about our conscious identity. When the connection between the two hemispheres of the brain was severed, researchers could give an instruction to the right hemisphere, the silent side, such as walk. The person would stand up and start walking. But when the left hemisphere, the side responsible for language and logic, was asked why they were walking, it didn't say, "I don't know." Instead, it instantly manufactured a reason. "I'm going to get a soda." The conscious mind didn't have the real answer, but it couldn't handle the vacuum of not knowing. It lied to maintain the illusion of control. This is what you do every single day. You aren't choosing your preferences. You're narrating a story that explains why your subconscious already chose them. This is the narrative self, a thin veneer of logic stretched over a roiling ocean of automated impulses. We are living in a state of predictive processing. According to the latest 2025 theories in computational neuroscience, your brain isn't actually seeing the world as it is. It is generating a continuous hallucination of what it expects to see based on past data, and it only updates its model when it encounters an error it can't ignore. You're literally living in a memory of the present. This is why you can't see the opportunities right in front of you if your subconscious has been programmed to see only scarcity. Your eyes see the opportunity, but your brain's filter, the reticular activating system, labels it as noise and deletes it before it ever reaches your conscious awareness. This is the biological root of the wall. When you try to change, you aren't just fighting a habit. You're fighting your brain's fundamental need for metabolic stability. To your brain, new is expensive. New requires building fresh synaptic connections, which demands massive amounts of glucose and oxygen. Your subconscious, the ultimate accountant, would rather keep you depressed and safe in a familiar environment than happy and at risk in an unfamiliar one. It is not interested in your self-actualization. It is interested in your caloric conservation. Consider the cognitive ease phenomenon. Your brain is hardwired to prefer information that is easy to process, which is why you find yourself scrolling through short-form videos for hours even when you're bored. Each scroll is a micro-reward for the subconscious, a tiny hit of dopamine for doing something predictable. Meanwhile, the task you actually want to do, writing that book, hitting the gym, practicing a new skill, is cognitive strain. To the subconscious, strain feels like a physical threat. It triggers a subtle, systemic stress response that makes you feel tired, hungry, or distracted the moment you sit down to do deep work. But it goes deeper than just laziness or energy saving. It's about the shadow programming of your first 7 years. From birth to age 7, your brain operates primarily in theta waves, the same frequency of deep hypnosis. You had no filter. You were a sponge, absorbing the beliefs, anxieties, and limitations of your parents, your teachers, and your environment. These aren't just ideas in your head. They are physical engrams, neural traces etched into your tissue. If you were told as a child that money is the root of all evil, or don't stand out, that instruction is now a hard-coded command in your basal ganglia. When you try to become wealthy or visible as an adult, your subconscious views it as a violation of its core operating system. It will literally sabotage your efforts to bring you back into alignment with the safety of your childhood programming. This is why traditional positive thinking fails 99% of the time. You're trying to overwrite a high-speed fiber optic cable with a handwritten note. You're trying to talk to a machine that doesn't use words. And then there is the body-mind feedback loop. We used to think the brain was the commander and the body was the soldier. We now know that the communication is bidirectional, with 80% of the fibers in the vagus nerve sending signals up from the body to the brain. Your subconscious is constantly reading the tension in your gut, the rhythm of your breath, and the acidity of your blood. If your body is stuck in a state of chronic low-level stress, the freeze response, it sends a signal to the brain that says, "We're under attack." The brain then generates thoughts that match that feeling. This is why you wake up with unexplained anxiety. It's not your thoughts causing the anxiety. It's your subconscious interpreting a physical state and then inventing a worry to justify it. We are caught in a loop of biological confirmation bias. Your subconscious seeks out evidence to support its existing neural pathways. If you believe the world is a dangerous place, your brain will literally ignore 99 kind strangers and hyperfixate on the one person who gave you a dirty look. It will amplify that signal until it's the only thing you can see. You're living in a prison of your own perception, and the bars are made of your own neurotransmitters. But here is where the mystery thickens. We've been treating the subconscious like an ancient, stubborn animal that we need to tame. We've been viewing the 40 bits of our conscious mind as the hero trying to survive the 11 million bits of the subconscious villain. We think our logic is the only thing keeping us from chaos. What if we've had it completely backward? What if the 40 bits of your conscious mind isn't the smart you trying to manage a dumb machine? What if the conscious mind is actually the most limited, easily fooled and irrational part of the entire system? Think about it. Your subconscious manages millions of chemical reactions per second with zero errors. It coordinates trillions of cells, regulates your endocrine system, and navigates complex social hierarchies through micro-expressions you don't even know you're seeing. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering. Meanwhile, your conscious mind, it's the part of you that forgets where your keys are. It's the part that gets tricked by optical illusions. It's the part that insists on eating the third slice of pizza when the subconscious, the body, is screaming that it's full. The truth is even more radical. Your subconscious isn't the problem you need to solve. It is the only part of you that actually knows what it's doing. Your conscious mind is the one that's confused. Your conscious mind is the one that creates the lie to cover up its own incompetence. We have been trying to use the PR spokesperson to fix the CEO. To understand the 100 facts we're about to cover, you have to accept a total reversal of reality. You don't need to control your subconscious. You need to stop your conscious mind from interfering with it. You need to learn how to step out of the way of your own genius. Let's look at the first 10 facts that prove your logical brain is actually the most irrational part of your existence, and why your gut instinct is actually a high-speed calculation that is more accurate than any spreadsheet you've ever made. Fact 1. You have a literal second brain. We call it a gut feeling, but neuroscientists call it the enteric nervous system. Over 500 million neurons are embedded in the lining of your gastrointestinal tract. That is more neurons than a rat has in its entire skull. When you get a bad vibe and your stomach ties in a knot, it is not a metaphor. Your second brain is actively processing environmental data and sending a high-speed distress signal up the vagus nerve before your conscious mind even registers the room. You think you're being paranoid, but your biology already knows you are in danger. But if your gut is so smart, why do you still make terrible decisions? Because of fact 2, the 17 millisecond lag. Your subconscious reads micro-expressions, tiny involuntary facial twitches, in exactly 17 milliseconds. Your conscious mind takes a sluggish 500 milliseconds to process the exact same face. By the time a stranger finishes saying hello, your subconscious has already scanned their pupil dilation, the asymmetry of their smile and their breathing rate, instantly comparing it to a lifetime of safety and threat patterns. You know they are lying before they even finish the sentence, yet you ignore it. Why? Welcome to fact 3, the halo effect. This is where your conscious mind ruins everything. If that liar is highly attractive or wearing an expensive suit, your conscious mind violently overrides the 17 millisecond warning. Your logical brain steps in and insists, they look successful, they must be trustworthy. You literally drug yourself with a cocktail of dopamine and oxytocin, silencing your biological alarm bells. You aren't falling for a scam. You're falling for your own conscious mind's desperate need for social validation, and your body betrays this internal conflict instantly. Fact 4 brings us to the ideomotor phenomenon. When your conscious desires clash with your deep subconscious beliefs, your physical strength literally drops. Kinesiology tests show that when subjects verbally state a lie or claim a goal they subconsciously don't believe they deserve, their baseline muscle resistance weakens by up to 20% within seconds. You can lie with your words, but your nervous system immediately pulls the plug on your cellular energy. Your body will not fund your delusions. So what happens when your brain completely bypasses your conscious awareness to keep you alive? Prepare for fact 5, blindsight. This is perhaps the most terrifying proof of subconscious supremacy. Patients who have suffered catastrophic damage to their visual cortex are completely, legally blind. They see nothing but black. Yet, when placed in a hallway filled with obstacles, they can walk from one end to the other, stepping over chairs and dodging walls without hitting a single object. When asked how they did it, they say they were just guessing. They aren't guessing. Their eyes still work and their subconscious is processing the visual data, routing it through the primitive brainstem directly to the motor cortex. They are navigating the world completely in the dark. If a blind person can see without knowing it, what is your subconscious seeing right now that it refuses to show you? It's filtering your reality through fact 6, the Tetris effect. Yeah, play Tetris for 3 hours and you will start seeing falling blocks in your sleep. But this isn't about video games. It's the biological mechanism of obsession. Whatever your subconscious focuses on, it physically rewires your neural pathways to seek out in the real world. If you spend 3 hours scrolling through toxic news, your subconscious alters your visual cortex to spot hostility in mundane interactions. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and it's not an accident. It's a targeted attack. You are hallucinating a hostile world because you programmed the algorithm. But who programmed you in the first place? Fact 7. Semantic priming. In a landmark study, Yale researchers had students unscramble sentences containing words associated with the elderly, like forgetful, Florida, and wrinkle. When they left the lab, researchers secretly timed their walk down the hallway. The students physically walked slower. Their subconscious read the words, activated the biological concept of aging, and instructed their motor neurons to drag their feet. They had absolutely no idea. If reading a few words on a page can manipulate your walking speed, what do you think the music you listen to, the friends you keep, and the podcasts you binge are doing to your heart rate, your ambition, and your bank account? You are being hacked every single second, and the most vicious hack happens right when you try to sleep. Fact 8. The Zeigarnik effect. You lay in bed, utterly exhausted, but your brain is screaming at you about an unread email or a minor mistake you made 5 years ago. Why? The subconscious mind despises an open loop. It will hold incomplete tasks in your active memory, burning through your metabolic energy until you either finish the task or trick the system. Writing down your to-do list doesn't just organize your morning, it acts as neurological receipt. It tells your basal ganglia, the threat is documented, the loop closes, the anxiety vanishes, you finally sleep. But what actually happens to your identity while you're sleeping? Fact 9. The illusion of memory. You think your memories are a video archive stored on a hard drive. They aren't. Every time you recall a memory, your subconscious pulls it out, unzips the file, and then completely rewrites it based on your current emotional state. If you're depressed today, your brain will literally alter the biological structure of a happy memory from 10 years ago, injecting it with darker tones and a sense of impending doom. You're never remembering the original event. You're only remembering the last time you remembered it. Your past is a fluid, unstable hallucination. If your past is a lie, what does that mean for the person you think you are right now? It brings us to fact 10. State-dependent learning. You're not one unified personality. You're a collection of fragmented biological states. Have you ever noticed that when you are furious, you can't remember a single reason why you love your partner, but when you are deeply in love, you can't recall why you were ever mad at them? Your subconscious files memories, habits, and skills under the exact neurochemical state you were in when you formed them. You literally cannot access your happy, productive neural networks when your bloodstream is flooded with cortisol. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a biological state management problem. You're trying to log into a supercomputer with the wrong password. And the passwords aren't locked in your brain. They are hiding in your flesh. Fact 11. The somatic marker hypothesis. Your subconscious tags every single experience you've ever had with a physical sensation, a somatic marker. When you face a new decision, your brain doesn't run a logical pros and cons list. It runs a rapid-fire simulation of your entire past and triggers a physical sensation in your body before a single conscious thought arrives. That heavy feeling in your chest when you look at a bad contract. That is thousands of hours of evolutionary pattern recognition screaming at you to run. You don't make decisions with logic. You make decisions with your nervous system. But what if your nervous system is addicted to chaos? Fact 12. Cellular trauma bonding. Why do people return to toxic relationships or self-destructive habits? Because the subconscious mind does not categorize emotions as good or bad. It only categorizes them as familiar or unfamiliar. If your baseline emotional state growing up was chaotic, high stress, and unpredictable, your brain wired its dopamine receptors to fire in the presence of chaos. Peace feels terrifying. Stability feels like a biological threat. Your subconscious will intentionally blow up a healthy relationship or a successful business just to trigger the cortisol spike it physically craves. You aren't self-sabotaging. You are going through neurological withdrawal. So how do you break the addiction to your own suffering? You have to exploit the most controversial vulnerability in your sleep cycle. Welcome to Fact 13, the hypnagogic window. There is a 10-minute window right before you fall asleep, and right as you wake up, where your brain shifts from rapid beta waves into slow, rolling theta waves. Your conscious mind powers down, but your subconscious vault is left wide open. Whatever you visualize in this exact state bypasses your critical filter completely. You aren't just daydreaming. You're downloading raw behavioral code directly into your basal ganglia. This is how you overwrite deep-seated trauma. But there is a catch. What happens to that code when you finally cross over into deep sleep? Fact 14. Synaptic pruning. While you're dreaming, your brain literally eats itself. Glial cells act as molecular garbage collectors, physically dissolving the neural connections you didn't use that day. If you spent the whole day obsessing over a mistake, your brain strengthens those anxiety pathways. If you ignored your goals, whereas your brain literally deletes the circuits required to achieve them, you wake up biologically less capable of success than you were yesterday. So how do you stop the system from deleting the wrong files? You have to understand Fact 15, the 90-second rule. When you get triggered, the actual chemical dump of adrenaline and cortisol only lasts for 90 seconds. That is the biological lifespan of an emotion. If you're still angry, sad, or anxious after a minute and a half, it is not an involuntary reaction anymore. Your conscious mind is actively choosing to re-trigger the loop by replaying the thought. You're artificially keeping the ghost alive. But why is it so incredibly hard to just let it die? Because of Fact 16, the negativity multiplier. Your amygdala treats negative information as 5 times more important than positive information. A compliment brushes off your psyche, but an insult sticks like glue. This isn't a flaw, it's an ancient survival mechanic. If you ignore a bush of sweet berries, you miss a meal. If you ignore a predator, you become the meal. Your brain is heavily biased toward danger, but in the modern world, this bias is rotting your mental health. So how do you physically force an ancient threat detector to shut down? Look straight ahead. Now, welcome to Fact 17, the panoramic hack. When you're stressed, your pupils dilate and your vision locks into a narrow, hyper-focused tunnel. This is the biological signature of fight or flight, but the system works in reverse. Then, if you consciously soften your gaze and expand your peripheral vision to take in the edges of the room, you send an immediate mechanical signal to your brainstem. The amygdala deactivates, your heart rate drops. You literally hack your optical nerve to command your subconscious to stand down. But if your eyes hold the kill switch to your anxiety, what else are they hiding from you? Prepare for fact 18, inattentional blindness. You only see what your subconscious deems strictly necessary. In famous eye-tracking studies, participants asked to count basketball passes completely fail to notice a person in a gorilla suit walking through the middle of the screen. It is not that they forgot it. Their retinas absorbed the light, but the subconscious deleted the gorilla from their conscious feed to conserve processing power. Right now, your brain is editing out millions of details in your immediate environment. If you're programmed to believe you're a failure, your brain will literally delete the opportunity sitting right on your desk. And you aren't just blind to objects, you are blind to the invisible data you steal from others. Fact 19. Mirror neurons. When you watch someone take a sip of water, the exact same motor neurons fire in your brain as if you were drinking it yourself. You're biologically designed to simulate the actions and emotions of whoever you look at. This is why spending time with unmotivated, cynical people drains your energy. You aren't just listening to them complain. Your brain is physically downloading the nervous system. You're running their stress on your hardware. It brings us to fact 10, state-dependent learning. You're not one unified personality. You're a collection of fragmented biological states. Have you ever noticed that when you are furious, you can't remember a single reason why you love your partner, but when you are deeply in love, you can't recall why you were ever mad at them? Your subconscious files memories, habits, and skills under the exact neurochemical state you were in when you formed them. You literally cannot access your happy, productive neural networks when your bloodstream is flooded with cortisol. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a biological state management problem. You're trying to log into a supercomputer with the wrong password. And the passwords aren't locked in your brain. They are hiding in your flesh. Fact 11. The somatic marker hypothesis. Your subconscious tags every single experience you've ever had with a physical sensation, a somatic marker. When you face a new decision, your brain doesn't run a logical pros and cons list. It runs a rapid-fire simulation of your entire past and triggers a physical sensation in your body before a single conscious thought arrives. That heavy feeling in your chest when you look at a bad contract. That is thousands of hours of evolutionary pattern recognition screaming at you to run. You don't make decisions with logic. You make decisions with your nervous system. But what if your nervous system is addicted to chaos? Fact 12. Cellular trauma bonding. Why do people return to toxic relationships or self-destructive habits? Because the subconscious mind does not categorize emotions as good or bad. It only categorizes them as familiar or unfamiliar. If your baseline emotional state growing up was chaotic, high stress, and unpredictable, your brain wired its dopamine receptors to fire in the presence of chaos. Peace feels terrifying. Stability feels like a biological threat. Your subconscious will intentionally blow up a healthy relationship or a successful business just to trigger the cortisol spike it physically craves. You aren't self-sabotaging. You are going through neurological withdrawal. So how do you break the addiction to your own suffering? You have to exploit the most controversial vulnerability in your sleep cycle. Welcome to Fact 13, the hypnagogic window. There is a 10-minute window right before you fall asleep, and right as you wake up, where your brain shifts from rapid beta waves into slow, rolling theta waves. Your conscious mind powers down, but your subconscious vault is left wide open. Whatever you visualize in this exact state bypasses your critical filter completely. You aren't just daydreaming. You're downloading raw behavioral code directly into your basal ganglia. This is how you overwrite deep-seated trauma. But there is a catch. What happens to that code when you finally cross over into deep sleep? Fact 14. Synaptic pruning. While you're dreaming, your brain literally eats itself. Glial cells act as molecular garbage collectors, physically dissolving the neural connections you didn't use that day. If you spent the whole day obsessing over a mistake, your brain strengthens those anxiety pathways. If you ignored your goals, whereas your brain literally deletes the circuits required to achieve them, you wake up biologically less capable of success than you were yesterday. So how do you stop the system from deleting the wrong files? You have to understand fact 15, the 90-second rule. When you get triggered, the actual chemical dump of adrenaline and cortisol only lasts for 90 seconds. That is the biological lifespan of an emotion. If you're still angry, sad, or anxious after a minute and a half, it is not an involuntary reaction anymore. Your conscious mind is actively choosing to re-trigger the loop by replaying the thought. You're artificially keeping the ghost alive. But why is it so incredibly hard to just let it die? Because of fact 16, the negativity multiplier. Your amygdala treats negative information as 5 times more important than positive information. A compliment brushes off your psyche, but an insult sticks like glue. This isn't a flaw, it's an ancient survival mechanic. If you ignore a bush of sweet berries, you miss a meal. If you ignore a predator, you become the meal. Your brain is heavily biased toward danger, but in the modern world, this bias is rotting your mental health. So how do you physically force an ancient threat detector to shut down? Look straight ahead. Now, welcome to fact 17, the panoramic hack. When you're stressed, your pupils dilate and your vision locks into a narrow, hyper-focused tunnel. This is the biological signature of fight or flight, but the system works in reverse. Then, if you consciously soften your gaze and expand your peripheral vision to take in the edges of the room, you send an immediate mechanical signal to your brainstem. The amygdala deactivates, your heart rate drops. You literally hack your optical nerve to command your subconscious to stand down. But if your eyes hold the kill switch to your anxiety, what else are they hiding from you? Prepare for fact 18, inattentional blindness. You only see what your subconscious deems strictly necessary. In famous eye-tracking studies, participants asked to count basketball passes completely fail to notice a person in a gorilla suit walking through the middle of the screen. It is not that they forgot it. Their retinas absorbed the light, but the subconscious deleted the gorilla from their conscious feed to conserve processing power. Right now, your brain is editing out millions of details in your immediate environment. If you're programmed to believe you're a failure, your brain will literally delete the opportunities sitting right on your desk. And you aren't just blind to objects, you are blind to the invisible data you steal from others. Fact 19. Mirror neurons. When you watch someone take a sip of water, the exact same motor neurons fire in your brain as if you were drinking it yourself. You're biologically designed to simulate the actions and emotions of whoever you look at. This is why spending time with unmotivated, cynical people drains your energy. You aren't just listening to them complain. Your brain is physically downloading the nervous system. You're running their stress on your hardware. Fact 30. The nostalgia trap. You think you miss the good old days. You don't. Your subconscious actively sanitizes your memories to protect your baseline mood, a biological phenomenon known as rosy retrospection. It deletes the boredom, the anxiety, and the pain of your past, leaving only a highly edited highlight reel. You are mourning a timeline that never actually existed. And this biological romanticism keeps you trapped in the past. Why? Because of what it blinds you to right now. Fact 31. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Buy a new white car, and suddenly every car on the highway is white. They didn't spawn into existence. Your reticular activating system simply updated its VIP list. Your subconscious controls reality by manipulating your attention. Whatever you declare as important, it will find. If you believe everyone is out to get you, your brain will highlight every single micro-expression of annoyance in the room to prove you right. You're manifesting your own paranoia. But how do other people's minds hack into yours? Fact 32. The Pygmalion Protocol. Your subconscious doesn't just read the room, it molds itself to it. When teachers in a famous study were falsely told certain average students were geniuses, those students' IQs literally skyrocketed by the end of the year. The teacher's subconscious micro-behaviors, a lingering gaze, a softer tone, communicated safety and expectation. The students' nervous systems absorbed the signal and physically expanded their cognitive capacity. You are quite literally the biological average of the expectations placed upon you, so what happens when you invest your energy in a toxic environment? Fact 33. The sunk cost biological trap. You stay in a dead-end job or a toxic relationship because you put too much time in. That's not logic. That's a dopamine deficit. Your brain views quitting as a metabolic failure. It registers the loss of invested energy as literal physical pain in the anterior cingulate cortex. To your subconscious, walking away feels like bleeding. You would rather slowly drown than rip the bandage off. And the harder you try to fight this instinct, the worse it gets. Fact 34. The irony of suppression. Tell yourself to stop thinking about your ex, and they become the only thing you can think about. When you actively suppress a thought, the subconscious mind deploys a background monitoring process to check if you're thinking about it. Yeah, by constantly checking, it forces the concept directly into your active memory loop. Your attempt to forget is the exact mechanical trigger guaranteeing you remember. You cannot erase a file by screaming at it, so how do you delete it? You wait for the brain to glitch. Fact 35. The micro-sleep glitch. You think you're awake 16 hours a day. You aren't. When you're severely stressed or sleep-deprived, your brain engages in localized micro-sleeps. Entire clusters of neurons in your prefrontal cortex shut down for up to 15 seconds while your eyes are wide open. You're physically driving a car, but the driver has left the building. You don't remember the last 3 miles because you were literally unconscious. If your brain can turn off without your permission, what happens when it invents its own medicine? Fact 36. The placebo baseline. In clinical trials, fake pills routinely cure real diseases. We call it a statistical nuisance. Neuroscientists call it the ultimate proof of subconscious supremacy. When you believe a pill will heal you, your brain triggers the release of endogenous opioids and dopamine. Your subconscious manufactures the exact chemical equivalent of the drug, using raw materials already floating in your bloodstream. You don't need the medicine, you are the pharmacy. But the pharmacy has a dark side. Fact 37. The nocebo effect. If belief can heal, it can also kill. Patients explicitly told about a fake drug's side effects will develop severe nausea, rashes, and migraines, even though they swallowed a sugar pill. Your subconscious takes your fear and translates it into physical pathology. If you constantly obsess over getting sick, your immune system listens to the command and literally lowers its defenses. You're thinking yourself into the hospital, and your willpower is useless to stop it. Fact 38. Ego depletion. Willpower is not a character trait. It is a biological resource tightly bound to your blood glucose levels. Every time you make a decision, what to wear, what to eat, how to reply to an email, you burn physical fuel in your prefrontal cortex. By 3 p.m., the tank is completely empty. Your conscious mind collapses and your ancient basal ganglia violently takes the wheel. This is why you break your diet at midnight, never in the morning. You aren't weak, you're just out of gas. But what happens when the people around you run out of gas too? Fact 39. Bystander paralysis. A man collapses on a crowded street and 50 people watch him die. They aren't evil. They are victims of subconscious diffusion. The human brain is hardwired to conserve energy by outsourcing risk to the tribe. Your subconscious quickly calculates the number of people present and divides your personal responsibility by that number. In a crowd of 50, you feel exactly 2% responsible. You freeze, waiting for the alpha to act. The crowd doesn't offer safety, it breeds biological apathy. So who do you trust when everyone is frozen? Fact 40. The familiarity heuristic. Your brain equates familiar with safe. If you see a brand logo 100 times, your subconscious automatically labels it as trustworthy, regardless of the product's actual quality. Marketers exploit this mercilessly. They don't need you to like the ad, they just need your optical nerve to register it. Once it's embedded in your neural database, you will blindly choose it over a superior, unknown competitor. You're voting against your own survival interests just because of a recognizable font, and you think you're a genius for doing it. Fact 41. The Dunning-Kruger biological blind spot. Why are incompetent people so aggressively confident? Because the exact neural networks required to perform a complex skill are the exact same networks required to evaluate it. If your brain is terrible at a task, it lacks the biological hardware to even recognize its own failure. Your subconscious shields your ego by flooding you with unearned dopamine. You don't know you are failing. You genuinely feel like a god. But what happens when a real authority figure commands you to do the unthinkable? Fact 42. The authority bypass. In the infamous Milgram experiments, 65% of perfectly normal people were willing to deliver lethal electric shocks to a screaming stranger simply because a man in a lab coat told them to. Your subconscious has a hard-coded override switch for morality. In the presence of perceived authority, the brain's critical thinking centers drastically power down. You don't question the command, you just execute the protocol. Your biological desire to belong to the hierarchy is infinitely stronger than your desire to not kill. If a cheap lab coat can hijack your morals, what can a repeated phrase do? Fact 43. The illusion of truth. Repeat a lie often enough, and it literally becomes biology. When the brain processes the same false statement multiple times, it experiences cognitive ease. It becomes highly efficient at processing the syntax of the phrase. The subconscious then fatally misinterprets this processing speed as truth. You don't believe the news because it's factual. You believe it because the neural pathway is well lubricated. You're a biological tape recorder pretending to be a critical thinker, and the tape recorder is running out of time. Fact 44. The scarcity panic. When your subconscious perceives a lack of resources, time, money, or food, it triggers a phenomenon called tunneling. Your working memory drastically shrinks. You temporarily lose 13 to 14 EQ points, the cognitive equivalent of losing a full night's sleep. You literally become stupider when you are broke or rushed. You make terrible, short-term decisions because your brain has shut down its long-range planning department to focus entirely on surviving the next 60 minutes. You can't think outside the box because your brain has locked you inside it. And who threw away the key? Fact 45. The asymmetry of forgiveness. You remember every time someone wronged you, but easily forget when you wronged them. This isn't malice, it's the actor-observer bias. When you make a mistake, your subconscious instantly attributes it to external circumstances to protect your ego. I was stressed. When someone else makes a mistake, your brain attributes it to their core identity. They are evil. You're biologically incapable of judging yourself by the exact same standard you judge the world. You're living in a rigged courtroom, and you are the corrupt judge. But what if the courtroom itself is a simulation? Fact 46. The somatic ghost. Have you ever felt your phone vibrate in your pocket, only to pull it out and see a blank screen? This is phantom vibration syndrome. Your brain is so deeply conditioned to anticipate digital dopamine that it actively misinterprets the friction of your clothing as a text message. Your subconscious is hallucinating tactile sensations to satisfy its addiction to the machine. You have merged with your technology on a neurological level. But if your phone can hack your nervous system, what can a simple price tag do? Fact 47. The anchoring glitch. If you see a watch priced at $10,000 and right next to it is a watch for $2,000, the second one feels like a steal. Your subconscious latches onto the first piece of information it receives, the anchor, and measures everything else against it. It abandons objective value entirely. Negotiators use this to weaponize your perception. By throwing out an absurdly high number first, they drag your subconscious baseline up, forcing you to overpay while feeling like you won. You didn't win. You were biologically outmaneuvered, and you probably thought the negotiation tactic was your own idea. Fact 48. Cryptomnesia. You write a melody, pitch a business strategy, or tell a joke, absolutely convinced you just invented it. You didn't. Your brain absorbed the information years ago, forgot the source, but kept the raw data. When the file finally resurfaces, your subconscious slaps your name on it to boost your serotonin. You aren't a creative genius. You're an oblivious plagiarist. Your entire identity is a patchwork quilt of stolen data masquerading as original thought. So if your ideas aren't even yours, who is actually steering the ship? Fact 49. The illusion of continuity. You think you are one uninterrupted person moving through time. You aren't. Every single time your eyes blink, about 15,000 times a day, your brain briefly shuts down the visual cortex. If it didn't, the motion blur would make you violently ill. Your subconscious constantly edits out these blackouts and stitches the remaining footage together in real time. You're watching a heavily cut movie, completely blind to the missing frames. But if your brain is perfectly fine editing out your physical blindness, what emotional blindness is it forcing you to endure? Fact 50. The Rosalind effect. When you experience a sudden intense emotion, your subconscious initiates a refractory period. For exactly 20 minutes, your brain physically refuses to process any new information that contradicts how you feel. If you are deeply angry and someone proves you wrong with flawless logic, you literally cannot hear it. The auditory processing centers are hijacked by your limbic system. You're functionally deaf to reality. So how do you snap out of it? You stop trying to think and you start trying to freeze. Fact 51. The mammalian dive reflex. Splash freezing cold water on your face. Instantly your heart rate plummets by up to 25%. Your subconscious violently rips control away from the amygdala and routes all oxygen directly to your vital organs to survive what it perceives as an Arctic drowning. It is a biological hard reset button. You literally shock your nervous system into absolute calm. But cold water can't save you from the voice inside your head. Fact 52. Subvocalization. When you read a book, you hear a voice in your mind. But you don't just hear it. Your vocal cords are actually micro-contracting, physically pronouncing every single word in absolute silence. Your subconscious limits your reading speed to your speaking speed because it refuses to untether language from the physical body. To break the limit, you have to force your eyes to move faster than your throat can twitch. But if your body is actively mimicking your silent thoughts, what is it doing with your silent trauma? Fact 53. The connective tissue vault. Emotional suppression is a physical act. When you bite back a tear or swallow your rage, the kinetic energy doesn't just evaporate. Your subconscious stores it in your fascia, the thin connective tissue wrapping your muscles. That chronic neck pain, that lower back spasm. It isn't just bad posture, it is a biological museum of every single boundary you let someone cross. You are carrying your unresolved history in your meat. If you want to heal the mind, you have to physically stretch the trauma out of the muscle. But stretching won't help if your brain is secretly addicted to the pain. Fact 54. The pain-pleasure overlap. In fMRI scans, the neural circuitry for intense physical pain and intense pleasure are virtually identical. The subconscious mind struggles to differentiate between agony and ecstasy. This is why people self-harm, pick at wounds, or seek out intensely spicy food. When you introduce a controlled pain, the brain panics and floods your system with endorphins to soothe it. You aren't addicted to hurting, you're addicted to your body's homemade painkillers. But the most dangerous drug your body makes isn't for pain, it's for conformity. Fact 55. The oxytocin paradox. We call oxytocin the love hormone. It bonds mothers to babies and partners to each other. But neuroscientists have uncovered its terrifying dark side. Oxytocin doesn't just make you love your in-group. It actively programs your subconscious to violently distrust the out-group. It is the biological fuel for tribalism and war. Your subconscious uses love as a weapon to protect the tribe. You think your prejudices are logical choices. They are just a hormonal defense mechanism. So if connection makes you dangerous, what does isolation do to you? Fact 56. The loneliness lethality. Chronic isolation is biologically equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. When your subconscious detects a lack of social bonds, it panics. It assumes you have been exiled from the tribe, which in ancient human history meant certain death. It immediately commands your immune system to spike your systemic inflammation, preparing your body for physical wounds. You don't just feel lonely, your cells are literally preparing to bleed. You're dying from a lack of eye contact. Yet, when you finally integrate into a crowd, you completely lose your mind. Fact 57. De-individuation. Put a perfectly rational person in a crowd of 5,000 cheering fans or rioting protesters, and their frontal lobe powers down. The subconscious synchronizes its brainwaves with the mob. You lose your personal moral compass and adopt the collective emotional state. You will scream, destroy, or celebrate with absolute zero inhibition. The you that exists in a quiet room literally ceases to exist in a stadium. You are a biological chameleon. But what happens when the chameleon looks in the mirror? Fact 58. The mere exposure mirror. You think you know what you look like. You don't. You only know your mirror image, a geographically reversed reflection. When you see a photograph of yourself, you almost always hate it. Your face looks asymmetrical. Your nose looks wrong. It's not because you are ugly. It's because your subconscious is violently rejecting a face it doesn't recognize. Your self-esteem is entirely dependent on a geographical flip of light. And if you don't even recognize your own face, how can you possibly map your own future? Fact 59. Prospection deficit. Try to imagine yourself in 10 years. Neuroimaging shows that when you think about your future self, your brain uses the exact same neural pathways it uses to think about a complete stranger. Your subconscious literally does not view future you as you. This is why you blow your savings, eat junk food, and skip the gym. To your basal ganglia, you aren't hurting yourself. You're dumping the problem onto a stranger. To hack this, you have to trick the brain into deep empathy with tomorrow, but tomorrow is a concept your subconscious completely rejects. Fact 60. The now habit. The subconscious mind has no concept of time. There is no past and there is no future. There is only an eternal, perpetual now. When you vividly imagine failing an interview tomorrow, your subconscious believes you're failing it right now. It dumps cortisol into your blood today for an event that hasn't even happened. You are physically paying the biological tax for a ghost. You cannot outsmart this mechanism. You can only weaponize it. Fact 61. Mental contrasting. Don't just visualize success. The brain gets the dopamine hit from the fantasy and stops working. Instead, visualize the exact painful obstacles in your way. Your subconscious instantly flags the obstacle as a current, immediate threat and releases a massive spike of adrenaline to crush it. You weaponize your anxiety to fuel your ambition. But ambition is entirely useless if your brain decides you don't deserve it. Fact 62. The imposter syndrome protocol. That feeling that you are a fraud who's about to be exposed? It isn't a lack of self-confidence. It is a highly evolved social survival mechanism. In primitive tribes, if you claimed a status higher than you earned, the alpha would kill you. Your subconscious artificially lowers your self-esteem to keep you submissive and safe from the alpha's wrath. Your brain is keeping you poor and obscure on purpose. To break the ceiling, you have to convince your biology that you are the alpha, and the fastest way to do that is to change your geometry. Fact 63. Proprioceptive posturing. Keep your spine perfectly straight and expand your chest for just 120 seconds. This isn't pseudoscience. Your proprioceptors, the neurons that tell your brain where your limbs are in space, send a mechanical signal directly to the endocrine system. Testosterone rises, cortisol drops. Your subconscious assumes that because your body is taking up physical space, you must have conquered the territory. You literally fake it until your biochemistry makes it. But what if the territory you conquered is actually a trap? Fact 64. The hedonic treadmill. The moment you move into the dream house or hit the $1 million milestone, the clock starts. Within 3 months, your subconscious entirely habituates to the new environment. The luxury becomes the new, boring baseline. The dopamine shuts off. You feel completely empty, staring out the window of a mansion, wondering why the math didn't work. The subconscious does not want you to be happy. It wants you to be hungry. Happiness leads to complacency, and complacency leads to death. You are biologically programmed to be eternally dissatisfied. So if you can never be truly satisfied, what is the point of the game? Fact 65. Transient hypofrontality. There's one loophole in the human software, the flow state. When you push your skills to the absolute limit, the prefrontal cortex entirely deactivates. The inner critic shuts up. Your time distorts. You merge completely with the task. Your subconscious takes over the wheel with zero friction. You aren't experiencing happiness. You're experiencing pure, unadulterated alignment. You become the machine. But you will break the machine if you try to split its focus. Fact 66. The illusion of multitasking. You think you're doing 3 things at once. You aren't. You're actually rapid switching your attention back and forth in milliseconds. Every single switch burns a massive amount of oxygen and glucose. Your subconscious creates a cognitive bottleneck, draining your effective IQ by up to 10 points. Multitasking gives you the exact same cognitive profile as someone who hasn't slept in 36 hours. You're biologically destroying your own genius. But there is a hidden frequency that can force it back online. Fact 67. Binaural entrainment. If you play a 400 Hz tone in your left ear and a 440 Hz tone in your right ear, your subconscious panics. It cannot process the acoustic dissonance, so it invents a phantom tone, a 40 Hz frequency, right in the center of your skull. This specific frequency instantly triggers gamma brainwaves, the exact same neuroelectrical state found in monks during deep meditation. You can literally hack your brainwaves using basic math. But what happens if you feed the brain the wrong data? Fact 68. The predictive echo chamber. Your brain is a prediction engine. It hates surprises because surprises cost calories. If you only consume content that confirms your worldview, your neural pathways for critical thinking physically atrophy. The synapses literally disconnect. When you're finally confronted with an opposing truth, your subconscious registers it not as new information, but as a biological attack. The same pain matrix lights up as if you were physically punched in the face. You aren't just stubborn. You have physically lost the capacity to change your mind, and your mind is constantly lying to you about who is watching. Fact 69. The spotlight fallacy. You walk into a room and trip. You feel a burning shame, convinced everyone is staring at you. They aren't. Your subconscious drastically overestimates how much people care about your existence. Because your brain is the center of your universe, it assumes it is the center of theirs too. In reality, everyone else is trapped in their own spotlight, terrified of being judged by you. You're suffering in an imaginary prison. Are you guarded by people who aren't even looking? But what if they aren't looking, but they are smelling you? Fact 70. Chemosignaling. You literally sweat your emotions. When you're terrified, your apocrine glands secrete a specific chemical marker. The subconscious minds of the people around you inhale this marker and instantly process it. Without a single word spoken, their own amygdalas light up. They begin to feel your fear, and worse, they subconsciously lose respect for you, marking you as prey. You cannot hide your anxiety with a smile. Your terror is airborne. Fact 71. The chronostasis illusion. Have you ever looked at a clock and for a split second the second hand seemed to stand still? That wasn't a glitch in the clock, it was a glitch in your perception. When your eyes move rapidly from one point to another, your brain momentarily goes blind to avoid motion blur. To hide this blackout from you, your subconscious takes the image of the second hand at its new position and backfills it into the gap of time where you were blind. You are literally hallucinating the past to maintain the illusion of a continuous present. Fact 72. The golem effect. If your subconscious believes your boss or your partner has low expectations of you, your brain will physically decrease your cognitive output to match those expectations. Your neural firing slows down and your creativity withers. You aren't just underperforming, you're biologically conforming to the smallness that others have projected onto you. Fact 73. The power of cognitive labeling. When you feel a surge of fear, your amygdala is in full control, but the moment you consciously name that feeling, I am feeling anxiety, your brain shifts activity from the emotional limbic system to the rational prefrontal cortex. Just by identifying the emotion, you physically weaken its grip on your nervous system. Labeling is the safety switch for the amygdala. Fact 74. The sensory gate. Your thalamus acts as a massive grand central station for your senses. It decides which of the 11 million bits of data get a boarding pass to your conscious mind. If your thalamus is leaky, you experience sensory overload and ADHD-like symptoms. If it's too restrictive, as you become numb to the world, you don't see the world, you see what the thalamus allows through the gate. Fact 75. Neuroplasticity's dark twin. We know the brain can grow, but Fact 75 reveals it can also unlearn through synaptic scaling. If you stop using a talent, whether it's playing the piano or speaking a second language, your subconscious views those unused neurons as energy waste. It will literally dissolve the physical connections and recycle the materials. Your potential is a use it or lose it biological contract. Fact 76. The sleep memory sieve. While you sleep, your hippocampus and neocortex engage in a high-speed dialogue. They decide which of your daily experiences are junk files and which are system assets. Your subconscious doesn't store what you want it to. It stores what was emotionally charged. If you want to remember something, you must attach a physical sensation or a strong emotion to it before you sleep. Fact 77. The primacy and recency effect. Your subconscious is biologically programmed to remember the beginning and the end of any event, but it almost entirely deletes the middle. This is why you remember the first day of a vacation and the flight home, but the middle days are a blur. If you want to make a lasting impression, ensure the first 60 seconds and the last 60 seconds are perfect. The rest is neurological noise. Fact 78. The micro-expression leak. While your conscious mind is busy crafting a lie, your facial muscles are controlled by the extrapyramidal motor system, the part of the brain that governs involuntary movement. In less than 1/25th of a second, your true emotion leaks out as a micro-expression. You can train your conscious mind to lie, but your subconscious facial nerves are physically incapable of keeping a secret. Fact 79. The gating of pain. Your subconscious can literally turn off physical pain through the periaqueductal grey (PAG) region. In moments of extreme survival, your brain floods the PAG with endorphins that block pain signals from reaching the cortex. This is why soldiers often don't feel a wound until the battle is over. Your brain isn't just a processor of pain, it is the ultimate regulator of it. Fact 80. Self-directed neuroplasticity. This is the turning point. For most of your life, your brain has been shaped by your environment, but through focused attention, you can consciously override the autopilot. When you focus on a single thought or movement with intense clarity, you force your neurons to fire in a specific pattern. Over time, this physical repetition changes the shape of your brain. You're the only creature on Earth with the biological equipment to intentionally rewire your own operating system. Fact 81. The reward circuitry trap. Your nucleus accumbens doesn't care about your happiness. It only cares about more. When you achieve a goal, the dopamine hit lasts seconds. Then the system resets to a state of wanting. This is the biological root of the hedonic treadmill. You aren't greedy, you're just operating on a brain circuit that is programmed to never say enough. Fact 82. The science of intuition. Intuition is not mystical, it is high-speed pattern recognition. Your subconscious has spent decades archiving every social interaction, every mistake, and every victory. When you get a gut feeling, your brain has just run a simulation of 10,000 past scenarios and found a match in less than a second. Your intuition is your personal supercomputer, giving you the answer before your slow conscious mind can even frame the question. Fact 83. The social brain and Dunbar's number. Your subconscious is physically incapable of maintaining deep emotional connections with more than 150 people. This is a limit of the neocortex. When your social circle exceeds this, your brain begins to treat people as objects rather than humans. Your biology was designed for a tribe, not a global network. Fact 84. Emotional granularity. People who can distinguish between frustrated, agitated, and overwhelmed have significantly lower levels of systemic inflammation. By providing your subconscious with a precise map of your feelings, you prevent it from triggering a generic stress response. Precision in language is health in the body. Fact 85. The peak end rule. Your subconscious judges an entire experience, a year-long relationship or a 3-hour movie, based on 2 points: the most intense emotional peak and the very end. It does not average the experience. A painful breakup can, retrospectively, ruin 5 years of happiness because the subconscious weights the end more than the duration. Fact 86. The primacy of the heart. The heart's electromagnetic field is 60 times stronger than the brain's. There are 40,000 neurons in the heart that send more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. Your subconscious is listening to your heart's rhythm to determine if the world is safe. If your heart is in incoherence, your brain will never find peace, no matter how much you meditate. Fact 87. Mirror neurons and empathy. When you see someone in pain, your brain doesn't just understand it, it simulates it. Your mirror neurons fire in the exact same pattern as the person you're watching. This is why negativity is contagious. You're physically absorbing the neurological states of the people you spend time with. Fact 88. The narrative fallacy. Your brain is a storytelling machine. It would rather believe a lie that makes sense than a truth that is random. To avoid the discomfort of chaos, your subconscious will invent reasons for your failures and destiny for your successes. You're living in a myth of your own making. Fact 89. The illusion of solitary consciousness. Your brainwaves actually synchronize with those of the people you're talking to. In a state of neural coupling, the speaker's brain and the listener's brain act as a single, unified system. You aren't an island, you're a node in a massive biological human network. Fact 90. The ego's funeral. The default mode network, the seat of your ego, actually shuts down during peak experiences like deep meditation, intense flow, or psychedelic states. When the DMN stops firing, the I disappears. In this state, your subconscious finally stops filtering reality. For a brief moment, you see the world as it actually is, not as you are. Fact 91. Subconscious healing. While you are in deep REM sleep, your brain releases growth hormones that physically repair your cellular tissue. Your subconscious is the world's most advanced physician. It can heal wounds, fight infections, and regulate metabolism. But it can only do so when your conscious mind is completely offline. Fact 92. The frequency of fear. The amygdala is specifically tuned to infrasound, sounds below the range of human hearing. These low frequencies, often found in nature before a storm or an earthquake, trigger a subconscious sense of dread or the feeling of being watched. You aren't seeing ghosts, you're feeling a frequency. Fact 93. The body's memory. Your subconscious stores trauma in the muscles, not just the mind. This is somatic memory. You can talk about a problem for years, but until you release the physical tension in the fascia, the subconscious will continue to believe the threat is present. Fact 94. The power of ritual. To the subconscious, a ritual is a set of instructions that signals the end of a state of chaos. When you perform a morning routine, you aren't just being organized, you're telling your basal ganglia that the environment is predictable. Predictability equals safety, and safety equals high performance. Fact 95. The cognitive reframing hack. Your subconscious cannot distinguish between anxiety and excitement. Both involve a racing heart, sweaty palms, and high cortisol. If you tell yourself, "I am excited before a big event," your brain reinterprets the physiological data and switches from threat mode to challenge mode. You change your performance by changing the name of the chemical. Fact 96. The mirror of the gut. 95% of your serotonin, the happiness chemical, is produced in your gut, not your brain. Your subconscious mood is a direct reflection of your microbiome. If your gut is in a state of war, your brain will never experience a state of peace. Fact 97. The 7-second delay reclaimed. Remember the fact that your brain makes decisions 7 seconds before you know it. Here is the secret. You can prime those 7 seconds. By consciously choosing your environment and your inputs now, you're preloading the decisions your subconscious will make 7 seconds from now. You don't control the choice, you control the data that leads to the choice. Fact 98. The reality of hallucination. Neuroscientists now believe that perception is just a controlled hallucination, and hallucination is just an uncontrolled perception. Your subconscious creates a model of reality and forces the sensory data to fit that model. You aren't living in the world, you're living in your brain's best guess of the world. Fact 99. The law of hypnotic rhythm. Any thought or action repeated long enough becomes a physical groove in the brain. Once the groove is deep enough, it becomes an automated rhythm that requires zero energy to maintain. This is how extraordinary becomes effortless. You don't need willpower, you need a deeper groove. Fact 100. The final truth. The subconscious mind is not your enemy. It is not a dark basement, and it is not a silent stranger. It is the most sophisticated, yet loving and powerful system in the known universe. It has been lying to you, filtering your world and running on autopilot for one reason: to keep you alive long enough to realize that you are the one holding the pen. The biological lie we discussed at the beginning, the idea that you are a passenger in a vehicle you don't control, is only true if you remain unconscious. The 11 million bits of information are not a burden. They are your untapped power. The 40 bits of your conscious mind were never meant to drive the car. They were meant to program the GPS. You have spent your life speaking the wrong language. You have been trying to use logic to move a machine that only understands patterns. You've been trying to use willpower to fight a system that only understands survival. But now you have the blueprint. The 7-second delay is no longer a chilling proof of a lack of free will. It is your window of opportunity. The invisible wall between who you are and who you want to become is not made of stone. It is made of neural pathways that you now know how to dissolve. The silent architect in your skull has been waiting for you to stop fighting and start collaborating. Your brain is a 3-pound organ that consumes 20% of your energy, but it holds the keys to every reality you can imagine. You're not a passenger in a high-speed vehicle on autopilot. You're the engineer of a biological supercomputer. The biological lie is over. The silent architect has been revealed, and for the first time in your life, you aren't just watching the movie, you are rewriting the script. Yet, the transition from the person you were to the person you're capable of becoming doesn't happen in the 40 bits of your thinking mind. It happens in the 11 million bits of your biology. It happens when you stop trying to think your way into a new life and start being your way into a new brain. You are the architect, you are the coder, and the engine is finally yours to command. The biological lie is not a prison sentence, it is a protective veil. For your entire life, you've been fighting against a system that was only ever trying to keep you safe. The invisible wall you felt, the one that stopped you from changing, from succeeding, from becoming the person you glimpsed in your highest moments, wasn't a wall at all. It was a high-voltage fence surrounding your comfort zone, powered by the metabolic necessity of survival. Your brain lied to you because it loved you. It filtered reality because the raw, unfiltered truth of 11 million bits of information would have incinerated your conscious circuitry. But today, that veil has been lifted. You now understand the language of the machine. Think back to the 7-second delay. For years, that scientific reality felt like a terrifying loss of free will, proof that you were merely a ghost in a machine, watching a pre-recorded life. But the ultimate resolution to this mystery is far more empowering. You cannot change the 7 seconds during the decision, but you possess the godlike ability to change the months, weeks, and hours that lead up to those 7 seconds. You're not a passenger in a vehicle that has already decided where to go. You are the lead engineer who programs the GPS long before the engine ever starts. By consciously choosing your environment, your inputs, your social circle, and your somatic state, you are preloading the subconscious data. When those 7 seconds arrive, your brain isn't making a random choice. It is executing the high-performance code you have intentionally installed. This is the true meaning of the silent architect. You have spent decades trying to use the 40 bits of your conscious logic to argue with the 11 million bits of your biological powerhouse. It was like trying to stop a tidal wave with a megaphone. The secret to absolute mastery is to stop arguing and start directing. You don't use willpower to fight your basal ganglia. You use neuroplasticity to give your basal ganglia a new, more efficient script. You don't use logic to overcome trauma. You use the vagus nerve and somatic release to tell your cells that the war is over. The blueprint we promised is now in your hands. It is the realization that your conscious mind is not the CEO, it is the visionary, and your subconscious is not a primitive animal. It is the most sophisticated executioner in the known universe. When these two forces stop fighting and start vibrating at the same frequency, you enter the permanent state of flow. You no longer need to try to be disciplined. You don't have to struggle to be confident. Those states become as automated and effortless as your heartbeat. The most radical truth of all is that the passenger and the pilot are actually the same person. The gap between who you are and who you want to become is a neurological illusion created by the default mode network to keep your energy usage stable. But you have seen behind the curtain. You know that your personality is not a fixed monument. It is a fluid, bioelectrical storm that can be redirected by a single focused thought, a deliberate breath, or a shift in peripheral vision. You're no longer a victim of your childhood engrams or your ancestral fears. You are the sole proprietor of a biological supercomputer that can physically rewrite its own hardware while you sleep. You have the power to exploit the hypnagogic window, to hack the dopamine loop, and to bypass the amygdala hijack. You are the architect of your own reality, and the biological lie has been replaced by biological sovereignty. The weight in your chest, the gut feeling that led you here, and the spark of recognition you feel right now, that isn't just a reaction to a video. That is your subconscious mind recognizing its own reflection. It is the silent stranger within you finally being seen, acknowledged, and integrated. You have been speaking the wrong language for a lifetime, but today you have finally learned how to communicate with the engine of your existence. As you move forward, remember that your brain will still try to conserve energy. It will still try to default to the old weed-choked trails of anxiety and doubt. But now you know that those feelings are just data points, not truths. They are signals from an old operating system that is being overwritten by the facts you now possess. You are the programmer. You are the observer. You are the one who chooses which neural highways get paved and which ones get demolished. The 40 bits of your conscious awareness are no longer a limitation. They're a laser. And when you point that laser at the 11 million bits of your subconscious potential, you don't just change your habits, bypassing this 7-second delay. You literally change the fabric of your lived experience. The invisible wall has dissolved. The silent architect has handed you the keys. The supercomputer is online, the parameters have been set, and the autopilot is now running the mission that you designed. You are the first generation of humans to understand the mechanics of their own soul. You aren't just living in the world anymore, you're dreaming it into being one synapse at a time. The transition from passenger to pilot is complete. The engine is humming, the road is clear, and for the first time in your life you aren't just watching the movie, you are the one holding the camera, writing the dialogue, and commanding the light. Your reality is no longer a mystery to be solved, it is a masterpiece to be commanded. You now stand at the threshold of a radical biological awakening. For the last hour, we have dismantled the machinery of your identity, layer by layer, until only the truth remains. You are not who you thought you were. You are something infinitely more capable. The 100 insights we've explored are not merely trivia. They are the keys to a kingdom you have inhabited since birth, but never truly ruled. The ultimate lesson of the human experience is this: your subconscious was never designed to make you happy, it was designed to keep you alive. But survival is a low-level operating system. Today you have upgraded to a system of conscious evolution. The 7-second delay is no longer a ghost in the machine, it is your window of opportunity. The 11 million bits are no longer a chaotic storm, they are your raw materials. The weight you've carried, the cycles of self-sabotage, and the invisible walls that once defined your limits have been revealed for what they truly are: outdated software. By understanding the language of the silent architect, you have reclaimed your agency. You now know that a single intentional breath, a specific visualization in the hypnagogic window, or a ruthless curation of your environment can physically tilt the axis of your reality. This is the birth of biological sovereignty. You're moving from a life of reaction to a life of creation. When the 40 bits of your conscious focus align with the 11 million bits of your subconscious power, the impossible becomes inevitable. The struggle is over because the internal civil war has ended. Your heart, your gut, and your brain are finally speaking the same language. As you step back into the world, look around. The world hasn't changed, but the eyes looking at it have. You are the coder of your own destiny, the architect of your own peace, and the master of the most powerful supercomputer in the known universe. The autopilot has been disengaged. Your hand is on the throttle. The horizon is yours. The moment the silent architect is exposed, the game changes forever. But understanding the blueprint is only phase 1 of your neural recalibration. Your brain is a masterpiece of metabolic efficiency, and if you do not reinforce these new pathways within the next 24 hours, the default mode network will attempt to pull you back into the old, energy-saving loop of stuckness. To ensure this biological upgrade becomes a permanent structure, you must signal to your thalamus that this level of reality is your new non-negotiable standard. One of the most effective ways to cement this transition is to remain within the frequency of mastery. By locking in your place here, you aren't just following a channel, you're instructing your reticular activating system to prioritize evolution over mere survival. You're making a tactical choice to feed your supercomputer the high-level data it needs to override the 7-second delay. This is how you tell your basal ganglia that the old script is officially decommissioned. If you are ready to move from the theory of the mind into the literal mechanics of physical rewiring, there is a specific biological protocol you must address next. We have dismantled the 100 facts of the subconscious, but we have not yet dissected the physical kill switch for the chronic anxiety loops your brain uses to keep you small. On the screen right now is our advanced breakdown of the vagus nerve reset, the precise biological manual for deactivating the survival response in under 60 seconds. If you felt a spark of recognition during our look at the mammalian dive reflex or chemosignaling, This is the missing link in your total transformation. Click it now to finalize your sovereignty and bridge the gap between knowing the truth and living it. The script is in your hands. The pilot is awake. I will see you inside the next phase of the architecture.